From its earliest proponents in ancient Greece and Rome, these quotes shed light on why the philosophy of Stoicism endures and how it applies to 21st century challenges. Stoicism is a school of philosophy, dating back to the 3rd century BCE, founded by Zeno of Citium. The philosophy soon grew to include some of the most influential thinkers of the Greek and Roman era. The Stoic philosophers teach that happiness and fulfillment can be achieved by refusing to be influenced by desire societal pressures or anything outside your control. Stoicism is about accepting moments as they arise and the power of logical thinking. Below you'll find a list of the best Stoicism quotes. These quotes come from various Stoic philosophers, including the 3 most influential Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism is still a thriving philosophy today. If you're curious about what it is and how to incorporate it into your daily life, these quotes are the perfect place to start. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately from on the shortness of life. For those who follow nature, everything is easy and straightforward, whereas for those who fight against her, life is just like rowing against the stream. From letters from a Stoic, floods will rob us of one thing, fire of another. These are conditions of our existence which we cannot change. What we can do is adopt a noble spirit, such a spirit that befits a good person, so that we may bear up bravely under all that fortune sends us and bring our wills into tune with nature's. From letters from a Stoic. No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have, and to cheerfully put to good use what they do have. From moral letters from Moral. Let us meet with bravery whatever may befall us. Let us never feel a shudder at the thought of being wounded, or of being made a prisoner, or of poverty or persecution. From letters from a Stoic. Begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. From letters from a Stoic. We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control? From Enquiry. But for me, every omen is favorable, for I want it to be so. For whatever may come about, it is within my power to derive benefit from it. From Enquiry. Curb your desire, don't set your heart on so many things, and you will get what you need. From the Discourses. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. From Enquiry. It's something like going on an ocean voyage. What can I do? Pick the captain, the boat, the date, and the best time to sail. But then a storm hits. What are my options? I do the only thing I am in a position to do, drown but fearlessly without bawling or crying out to God, because I know that what is born must also die. From the Discourses. When someone is properly grounded in life, they shouldn't have to look outside themselves for approval. From the Discourses. Just keep in mind, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. The chief task in life is simply this: to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself, which are externals, not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil, not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself to the choices that are my own. And each action that you undertake, consider what comes before and what follows after, and only then proceed to the action itself. From the Discourses. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher. In his masterpiece Meditations, he laid out the tenets of his beliefs. Below are some of his best quotes which embody both his wisdom and the beauty of his writing. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. From Meditations. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you but your own judgment about it. And it is in your power to wipe out this judgment now. From Meditations. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. From Meditations. Today I escaped anxiety. Or no, I discarded it because it was within me in my own perceptions, not outside. From Meditations. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Really easy this, and you will find strength. From Meditations. It's time you realize that you have something in you more powerful and miraculous than the things that affect you and make you dance like a puppet from meditations. The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you do. Not to be distracted by their darkness, to run straight for the finish line, unswerving from meditations. Whatever happens to you has been waiting to happen since the beginning of time. The twining strands of fate wove both of them together from meditations whose not to be harmed and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed and you haven't been from meditations. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one from meditations. Simply put, Stoicism was designed to help people live their best possible lives. It's a philosophy of life that maximizes positive emotions, reduces negative emotions, and helps individuals to hone their virtues of character. At any moment, in any situation, and at any stage of life, Stoicism provides a framework for living well. It reminds people of what is truly important, providing practical strategies to get more of what is valuable. Stoicism was deliberately created to be understandable, actionable, and useful. Practicing Stoicism doesn't require learning an entirely new philosophical lexicon or meditating for hours a day. Instead, it offers an immediate, useful, and practical way to find tranquility and improve one's strengths of character. The creation of this guide has these goals in mind. Stoicism is having a renaissance with entrepreneurs, athletes, and politicians. If you have an interest in learning more about Stoicism, or if you want to explore answers to some of life's most significant questions, please read on. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Let's start by learning a bit more about Stoicism. Stoicism is a school of philosophy that hails from ancient Greece and Rome in the early parts of the 3rd century BC. It's important to keep in mind how differently people thought then. People's primary concern was to avoid living an unfortunate life. Therefore, they were more likely to order their thoughts, decisions, and behaviors to promote increased life satisfaction. One of the most important things to keep in mind is individuals didn't automatically assume that they would achieve happiness by attaining money, prestige, and/or beautiful things. With great urgency, people wanted to understand how they could have an excellent soul. Stoicism was one of the famous schools of thought during this period because the Stoics provided compelling answers to anxiety, stress, fear, and troubling questions like, what do I want out of life? The Stoics offered an operating system that dealt with the trials of the human condition. For instance, a person could hone virtues of character by placing more value on actions over words. In short, positive behavior lead toward a more positive life experience. And you guessed it, negative behavior resulted in a more challenging one. In summation, Stoicism was an ancient school of philosophy that taught a particular way of living. Its principal focus was how to live a virtuous life to maximize happiness and reduce negative emotions. Its value has been tried and tested over much of human history by renowned individuals like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Arianna Huffington, Tom Brady, Tim Ferriss, and more. Its principles may have started long ago, but Stoic strategies are as relevant today as they were in ancient times. A handful of thinkers helped to form the Stoic philosophy. This section will provide pertinent information about several of the most famous Stoics, as well as what they contributed to the Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most influential human beings in human history. He was the head of the Roman Empire for 2 decades at a time when it was one of the largest and most influential civilizations the world had ever seen. And despite being an individual of limitless power who could do whatever he pleased with impunity, Emperor Aurelius ardently practiced and lived the Stoic philosophy. He wrote nightly in his journal about his struggles to live as a restrained, wise, and virtuous human being. He wrote them for himself entirely later. His writings were uncovered, collected, and published under the title Meditations. The collection is now recognized as one of the most influential Stoic texts. His writings are a direct look at the thoughts of a practicing Stoic, and he stands as an incredible example of how Stoic strategies can help individuals deal with stressful situations. Stoic philosophy started with Zeno of Citium. Having shipwrecked near Athens, he turned his misfortune into an opportunity by taking advantage of all the philosophical resources available in the city. He sat in on lectures from the other schools of philosophy, e.g., cynicism, Epicureanism, and eventually started his own. He would teach his theory on the Stoa Poikile, a famously painted porch in Athens, and it is from this Greek word for porch, stoikos, that the term Stoicism came. The Stoic philosophy changed over time, shifting focus from logic and physics to more psychological concerns like tranquility and well-being. Also, the Stoics could never convene to affirm all of their tenets precisely, but there are certain principles at the core of the Stoic operating system. Here are some of the most important beliefs and strategies that the Stoics recommend to live a better life. As the philosophy developed, the Stoics came to have very little patience for purely theoretical contemplation. They focused less on pondering for the sake of it, and more on real-world pragmatism. In the real world, you need to arrive at an answer and take action. A true Stoic is not an armchair philosopher, but someone who gets out and lives by their theory. Also in this quote, one can immediately see the Stoic concern for a righteous life. Stoics think that a good life is one of moral action. If you want to live well, you have got to be a morally just person. The chief task in life is simply this, to identify and separate matters so that I can say clearly to myself, which are externals not under my control, and which have to do with the choices I actually control. Where then do I look for good and evil? Not to uncontrollable externals, but within myself, to the choices that are my own. Epictetus. Stoics acknowledge that people don't have control over all, or even much of what happens in life. And they emphasize that worrying about things outside of their control is unproductive, or even irrational to a person who wants to attain tranquility. The Stoics would have us remind ourselves daily to actively differentiate between what is and is not under control, to not waste energy over uncontrollable adverse events. Where many people worry endlessly about things out of their control, the Stoics think their energy is better spent thinking of creative solutions to problems rather than the issues themselves.